It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give them a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Definitely worth the trip to Sal's for authentic Italian food. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Holiday Inn Properties. That's right, all of the Holiday Inn properties. If you're traveling anywhere in the U.S. and you need to stay someplace, stay at a Holiday Inn property. Not only is it a great place to stay, but we'll get you the Billy C discount. That's right. Just call our toll-free number, 844-603-0364. 844-603-0364. Or just click the banner up on BillyCBoxing.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next boxing event, which is next Saturday, May 12th, the day before Mother's Day. World Championship fight is the main event. Saddam Ali will defend his title. Go there. I'm going to be there. That's right. Definitely check out that show. Get yourself some tickets right now. And make sure you look me up because I'm going to be ringside for that fight. Best deal for tickets. Avoid the middleman. Go directly to the box office. And we got the link all set for you to save some money and go see a great fight. Every seat at the Turning Stone is a good one. Great place to watch professional boxing. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the fight poster. Can't miss it. It's on the right-hand side. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molino, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting this guy's story told. And it would make a great movie, too. Oh, did I let the cat out of the bag? Oh, sorry. Coming up a little bit later on the show, Dax Khan will be joining us, giving us his thoughts on the bigger fight scheduled for this weekend. We'll be breaking down and giving you the predictions. I've picked 4 fights that we're going to be talking about. Paul Butler and Emmanuel Rodriguez is a fight happening over in England that I wanted to talk about. I think it's a good matchup. Of course, we'll be talking about the young phenom who fights tonight, Ryan Garcia. And really, I think this fight is extremely competitive, so I'm looking forward to it tonight. The fraud, David-Haye, fights Tony Bellew again. And, of course, Triple G against Vanis Martirosyan. We'll be breaking down and giving you those predictions coming up in a little bit. I want to kick off the show. I got an update on Triple G Canelo. I had said I thought that Triple G should not even pursue Canelo after all of this, and we'll give you an update. Maybe he does listen to the show. I don't know. But I want to kick off the show with this. The Japanese Boxing Commission, the JBC, has they make a strong stand. One thing I love about the Japanese fighters in anything, not only boxing, but obviously martial arts, etc. These guys have a lot of pride. And not only do they have pride inside the ring, they carry that pride outside the ring. They're proud about the fact that they're a fighter, that they go into combat, so to speak. They're proud about the gyms that they fight for, the promoters they fight for, their fans. Very proud fighters. And the commission doesn't mess around. It was announced yesterday that it was announced on April 25th. It was reported yesterday that the WBC flyweight champion, who's from Japan, Diego Higa, was overweight by 2 pounds when he was scheduled to defend his title. And the Japanese Boxing Commission really struck him hard. Not only did they charge him 20% of his purse as a penalty, they warned his manager, Yoko Gushikainen, and they suspended Higa indefinitely, meaning that he can't fight in Japan anymore. Very similar to their stance on former bantamweight champion Luis Nery and Higa, both when they fought or were supposed to fight. They have stipulated some pretty strict rules. Joining me right now to get his thoughts, because Sal's been saying a lot of stuff about overweight and being overweight. We've been talking about Canelo Alvarez testing positive and criticizing the Nevada State Athletic Commission for not even slapping him hard on the wrist. Here, the Japanese Boxing Commission, a guy 2 pounds overweight, suspended indefinitely. Joining me right now, Sal Rocky Cenicola. What's your thoughts on such a stiff penalty?
I'll tell you what. You're a paid professional. What does that mean? That means you're paid. You're paid a sum of money to fight. You're paid to go by the rules and regulations. You're paid because you accepted this responsibility. I say responsibility because you have a responsibility to your fans, to the game of boxing, and to your opponent, and to other entities that are in the boxing world. So, you know how I feel, Billy. There is no way, shape, or form or excuse that a fighter can't make that weight on the scale. I don't care. I used to bring a scale that was balanced to the medical scales in my briefcase, in my gym bag. I had a scale that I was weighing myself all the time. I never failed weight. And I peeled down to 20, 30 pounds here and there. But the bottom line is this. It doesn't matter what I did. The bottom line is people should make sure that they do what they're supposed to do, what they're paid to do. They're paid professionals. And if you can't make a weight class, then get off the scale and go up to the next weight class. But the bottom line is, yes, you're a paid professional. That means you abide and you accept the conditions of the contract, and you abide by the rules and regulations. And if you should get slapped hard, then you deserved it. And I'm all for it. And, here we have a way to finagle the rules and soften them up and have conditional things and going on and everything else. But no, you should get slapped hard. Maybe it'll send a message and teach other people. They do in the Middle East. Someone said yesterday, they said, oh, wow, I want to go live in Dubai. It's a zero crime rate. And it's like, yeah, you know why? Because if you get caught stealing, they're going to cut off your hand. These are things. If you do things with severity for the things you're not supposed to do, maybe people think twice before you do it again.
Well, I tell you, if Higa chopped off his hand, he probably would have made weight. But
that's wrong.
I'm mistaken. Luis Nery was also overweight and was not an opponent for Higa. But here's they were so upset that they came in overweight, and we're talking 2 pounds. I mean, how many times have we seen these guys not even get on the scale because they know they're way over? The team announced an apology in a written form. Our boxer, Diego Higa, this time committed a disgraceful overweight incident, which we deeply reflect on. Higa was hospitalized for a medical checkup after the fight, but discharged from the hospital afterwards. We sincerely accept the Japanese Boxing Commission's punishment and seriously take on health control of our fighters. We hereby apologize for the dishonorable incident that Higa committed.
Wow.
This is his team, the promotional and management team, which does consist of Yoko Gushikin, who was also a former world champion in 108-pound class, who defended his title on 13 occasions, never came in overweight. And the Japanese Boxing Commission also said that should Higa ever be reinstated in Japan, one of the stipulations will be that he must move up to a higher division before they consider it, feeling that since he tipped the scales 2 pounds over the 112-pound limit, he weighed 114, that he needs to move up. They have incorporated and hope that the WBC, who he was defending the title for, and everyone else in the boxing world adhere to these rules. Number one, there's 5 rules that they have specified and spelled out for the Japanese Boxing Commission. Number one, the overweight boxer should make his final scaling 2 hours since his failure to make weight. Some fighters say no more, meaning that they should get 2 hours if they have to get back on the scale again. Number two, the second weigh-in, which is that maximum 2 hours, with the mutually agreed upper limit on the next day, should take place to avoid the overweight boxer's drastic rebound on weight at fight time. So in other words, they want to have a rehydration clause incorporated in that. Number three, stipulated ruled penalty at a purse in the case of being overweight. Hit these fighters where it hurts the most, not their face, not their body, their pocketbook. And I agree with that. He says the supervisor or the local commission staff should be watching the progressing of the overweight boxer's reduction of his weight after his first failure. Lately, some boxers haven't seriously reduced weight in order to fight and win on the next day. So they're saying that they should be supervised with however they determine that they're going to try to lose weight to get on that scale for the second and final opportunity to make weight. And finally, the length of suspension depends on the quantity of being overweight. Boxing rules have serious defects in regulating the overweight procedure, which should be discussed as early as possible in forthcoming conventions. Well, the Japanese Boxing Commission takes 2 pounds very seriously, Sal, because they suspended this guy indefinitely. I think it's good. Listen, the only way to get people to follow rules is to have stiff penalties, don't you think?
Yes, I do, Bill. I think that a lot across the board. And I'm not talking. I don't want to get too involved with our judicial system and politics, but yeah, rules are in place for a lot of reasons. And when it comes to the safety of fighters and the weight classes, I mean, like I always said, Bill, I don't want to just harp and beat it up. That's no pun intended. But, you know, you're a paid professional and you sign a contract. And neither is to be taken too lightly. And I applaud the Japanese Boxing Commissioner and their rules and regulations, and how serious they take these rules and regulations and contractual obligations. I think it's good. I think it's a model that we should all follow, because you know this is something that it just blows my mind how you could sign a contract and you're being a paid professional to adhere to the rules and regulations of what you signed. There is no excuse how you cannot dry out, stop at miss a meal, work out extra, put on a little rubber suit to sweat it off. And I mean, these are the things we did. And you know, we when I say we, it just seemed like it was just a matter of fact that we made sure that we did what we had to do to make weight, because that was what we signed the contract for. And that's what we were being paid to do, being a professional. People better take this a little more serious.
You know, when you said miss a meal, the studio foundation shook here. I'm in upstate New York, about
You are
3.5 hours north of the city, and I think Jarrell Baby Miller was listening to the show, because when you suggested that a fighter miss a meal, he just fainted, and I think that's what the big crash and rumble was. It may have registered on the earthquake scale. I don't know. But the thought of that guy, 304 pounds of a missing a meal, I hope we don't get sued for his mental disturbance at this point, Sal, because missing a meal, passing a buffet line, that's something Jarrell Miller just can't do.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's something that a lot of fighters shouldn't do. And, like I said, you are what you eat, literally. And, you look at the food. And I'm just saying, like I said, when you're a paid professional fighter, you got to look at it seriously. Look in the mirror. You've got only a few short years to change and to adapt and to change and to do things differently of what you're trying to achieve in greatness in the sport of boxing, and money and income and all the other incentives that you have for being a professional fighter. So guess what? You have to alter your life, your lifestyle. You got to commit to things. You got to do things differently. You've got to have balance in your life. You got to train. You got to stretch your body. You got to rest your body. You've got to eat healthy, because literally, the food you put in your mouth is literally the fuel that your body is going to respond to. And like I said all along, it's just a few short years. And if you take on the responsibility and the commitment to be a paid professional fighter, then you should take your craft very serious and do what you got to do for those few short years, because you got the rest of your life to do whatever you want afterwards. But make those sacrifices and commitments and have some discipline before, when you are in those span of years while you're fighting.
The word discipline is the key here, and it's something that we lack today in society, not only in sports, but in society. I complain a lot about, people just don't seem to be held accountable for their actions anymore. And the Japanese Boxing Commission is making sure that the fighters are held accountable and are throwing down some serious consequences. Now, being indefinitely suspended, one of the problems with this sport is that being indefinitely suspended in Japan doesn't necessarily mean that Higa can't fight someplace else. I wish that when a commission issued a suspension for whatever reason, that all commissions, not only in the States, and in this case, not only commissions in Japan, but all commissions adhere and respect those suspensions for the reasons that the commission felt warranted the suspension in the first place. So it is what it is. Now, let's get some Triple G Canelo news.
Yes, please. I can't wait to hear this.
Triple G and Canelo. We all know that Canelo tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, clenbuterol. Has since been tested a couple of times. When he initially was tested in February, not once but twice, failed. They did take a hair follicle test, which he came up clean. I was educated to people told me that you can beat hair follicle tests. I wasn't aware that you could, but nonetheless, Triple G had also taken the opportunity to have some surgery done since his suspension for 6 months. He won't be allowed back in a gym theoretically until August. Many people feel that the rematch between Triple G and Canelo will take place in September. It was originally scheduled for this weekend, tomorrow is to be exact. Triple G was adamant about continuing to fight, had a lot of problems finding an opponent, found a last-minute opponent with a couple of weeks to prepare in Martirosyan. He's a come-at-you fighter, a quality fighter. He's been out for a while, but we'll break down that fight. But leading up to this fight, final press conferences, etc., 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 of course, everywhere Triple G goes, and is the case with Canelo too, except he's in hiding right now, similar to Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, both two monstrous guys that no one seems to be able to find right now. But the truth of the matter, the truth of the matter is that Canelo Alvarez is constantly the guy who they talk to Triple G about. And when he was at his press conference yesterday in California discussing the upcoming fight tomorrow against Vanes Martirosyan on HBO, Triple G once again was asked about the potential rematch with Canelo in September. Now, just keep in mind, yesterday we talked about Billy Joe Saunders, and it kind of seemed like Billy Joe Saunders was kind of pissed off at Triple G for not making the fight with him happen in June rather than tomorrow, and then suggested that, after he cut Canelo to ribbons, he suggested that he would fight Canelo if the money was right, and wasn't that keen on Triple G. It seemed and sounded to me that he was gearing towards a showdown with Canelo rather than fight Triple G, probably for the money. I don't know. But Triple G was asked about the rematch with Canelo yesterday, and his response was, and I quote, "I would say it's about a 10% probability at this point that the rematch happens. I would say only 10% that it happens. I think 10% is even high. It's bigger than it should be. I made 99% of the concessions for both fights with Canelo, including the fight scheduled on May 5th. 99% of them were by me, and now he's the one that's not here."
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. It is amazing. What's your thoughts on that comment? Because, it's straight, it's blunt, and it's to the point. Triple G's pissed off, Sal.
Well, he is pissed off, and he has every right to be so, and I'll tell you why. Again, guess what, boys and girls? When you're a professional fighter, again, you are a paid professional, which means you adhere to the rules, regulations, laws, agreements, and everything else that comes to be. And for Triple G to come forth and say that he had to make concessions to make the first fight happen doesn't surprise me. We were talking about that yesterday, Bill, and I said, in a perfect world, there'll be trade-offs and there'll be agreements made where both sides don't feel like they quite won everything that they looked for, but also feel like they haven't quite lost either. So it would be on a par level that both fighters get and give a little bit of what they can live with. And that would be a fair assessment of concessions, which now we're finding out, according to Triple G, that he made 99% of the concessions to concede and to do along the lines of what Canelo Alvarez wanted to have in his favor, which I don't see why he had to do it, but he did it.
Well, I said previously, we're going to have to hold that thought because I got to take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty,
get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And just before we went to break, we were talking about Triple G making all the concessions, blah, blah, blah. If they, not only for the first fight, but for the rematch as well. Most of us feel that Triple G won the first fight, so there shouldn't have even been any concessions made. He was workable in a sense where he made all the concessions to have the second fight, and Canelo doesn't show up. I believe Triple G should call all the fight, all the shots if the fight happens. It is his belts. It is something Canelo's going after him. This is one of the main problems with the sport of boxing, how you have one side that potentially has the juice, so to speak, no pun intended, the power. Let me use a different choice of words. The power because of promotional or et cetera, and the other guy's got to come in bowing down. Or in a case similar to what Deontay Wilder's going through with Anthony Joshua, to be aligned with a promotional team that's not willing or capable of putting up big bucks, even though allegedly Wilder's team offered $50 million. It's still a little shady how that would work, but it is what it is. It's the same thing with Triple G and his promotional team. As far as the rematch with Canelo between Oscar De La Hoya and Gomez, the team, Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy / Canelo team, had some comments about Triple G's comments. They said when they were asked if the fight would be tainted because of Alvarez testing positive, when the fight actually happens, Team De La Hoya/Canelo says, no, it shouldn't be. Canelo's a clean fighter, and he'll get tested every single day from now until the fight. The Triple G fight is option number 1 for Canelo, and we're going to do everything we can to get that fight made. But if Triple G doesn't want the fight, we'll move on and fight a different opponent. Canelo has done everything that's been asked of him, and I think he's proven to the commission and everyone else that he's a clean fighter. And these tests were a mistake, that he ate the contaminated meat. I'll tell you the truth. I think Triple G is scared. He knows what he's facing. Canelo was tough and will be tougher. He remembers those last few rounds when Canelo was taking it to him, and I think he's afraid of getting in there with the younger, faster, stronger fighter in Canelo. I believe that is what the real truth is. What's your thoughts on that comment, Sal?
Well, it's a loaded, how can I say, instigating comment. I'll tell you, it's one that I really don't see the reality of what Triple G may be fearful or feeling, as far as he not wanting to get in the ring again against Canelo Alvarez, because he feels he is not going to have things go his way. I think it would be quite the opposite. I think that Triple G learned a lot from that Canelo Alvarez, and I think he'll put his foot down to the pedal and the metal. And I think that he will probably win in a little more dominant fashion. As long as Adeline Bird is not present, Triple G should get that victory in a rematch, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, age does have a thing. Triple G he's 36, and I do believe that Canelo is kind of happy that it was put off again. This was their plan.
Oh, yeah, this was Canelo. Yeah, this might have been his strategy and plan. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that they
said all along.
I think that they truly believe that that they're trying to drag it on. You know as well as I that fighters age quickly a lot of times in the ring during a fight. The first half of a fight they look great, and then by the second half of the fight they age and they're never the same. But I'm not so sure I agree with Canelo dominating the last few rounds. I maybe the last one, but I thought that Triple G was in control of that fight. I saw Canelo doing a lot of running in that fight. I've lost all respect for Canelo Alvarez. He was one of my top fighters. I don't agree with Golden Boy Promotions that still claim that Canelo is the biggest name in boxing. I feel that Canelo has clearly lost some of his oomph. I think a lot of fans don't like cheaters, and especially when they're high-profile cheaters that seem to get everything in their way all the time, getting their own way, everything in their favor. That's why fans come down so hard on the bigger names. When a smaller named fighter gets in some kind of trouble or whatever, a lot of times it doesn't make the news. But when a big name fighter, or any athlete for that matter, does something wrong, it's headline news. Canelo made a mistake. He got caught. He's a cheater. He got caught. The question now looms in everyone's mind: how long has he been cheating? Was it tainted meat? Was it not tainted meat? Has he been pulling the wool over everyone's eyes for so long? Antonio Margarito, knocking people out, destroying people. All of a sudden, they bust him before the Shane Mosley fight, putting cement in his gloves, basically. And now everyone always said, well, the only reason why he beat everyone up is because he had the tainted gloves. I mean, it is what it is. You can't say everybody's got to be clean and then test positive. I just think that Canelo has this attitude, and a lot of superstar athletes, you see it. High school superstars that go on to college and go on to play in the professional ranks, they get treated special. And because they're never held accountable, the same thing we started the show with, they never feel they have to. I read the blotter reports on these pro athletes that are making millions and millions of dollars every year, and they're getting, doing stupid things, driving drunk. In the NFL, they have a program where you could, if you're an NFL player anywhere in the United States and you need a ride, you pick up the phone and call their hotline, and they'll get you back to wherever you got to go. It's part of their league. The baseball league is the same, and yet these guys still get in their cars and drive drunk, and mishaps happen. So no, you got to be held accountable. I think that Canelo got off very easy. I'm disturbed over it, and I've lost a lot of respect for Canelo Alvarez. And I personally hope that Triple G does not fight him, and I hope that other fighters don't run to fight him. I want to see the fans do what the Japanese Boxing Commission does to their fighters, to Canelo, and that is hurt him where it hurts the most, in his pocketbook. Don't buy his pay-per-views. Don't support the guy. And send a clear message, not only to Canelo, but to other fighters, and especially Golden Boy. Golden Boy Promotions was in the driver's seat a couple of years ago. They seem to be dropping off and looking like a pretty sleazy outfit to me, Sal.
Well, I'll tell you, you said a mouthful, and I think that if the fans had enough of these scenarios occurring on a regular basis in a game of boxing, the sport of boxing, then yeah, they could do what you suggested and not support those fighters that are a little less favorably looked at today because of their actions outside the ring. It's just part of what drives the sport, and you have fans that drive the sport, and they have their popular fighters, and these fighters that pound their chest and tout that they're the best, and they try to fight, and I don't think it'll ever happen. I think Canelo will have the slap on the wrist. I think he'll resurrect a good career because of his age and things like that. And I just I'm torn on the idea that Triple G and Canelo may not have that rematch, because I look at it from a different perspective. Just because I felt that Triple G was not validated or was not recognized as the winner of the last fight, I am going to come out and say I'd like to see him have the second opportunity to close the show and to be dominant and close the show with a big victory over Canelo Alvarez in the ring. Cheater or not cheater, I think that would be his way of going out in style and making a big statement to the world of boxing. Maybe even signifying that might be his last fight. But here we are. It's going to be a year later. Everything seems to work in Canelo Alvarez's favor according to these the dates and things like that. So you never know, Bill, how much of this was actually pre-planned, or how much of this was actually thought about, and who actually wants this to play out the way that it's going.
I don't think that Canelo, and I don't think you meant it this way, but I don't think Canelo planned on getting caught. I do think that he planned on getting away with it. To me, I do believe that he was very well aware that he was cheating, but I don't think that he planned on getting caught. And at this point, I hope that I hope that other people, other boxing fans, feel this just as negatively as I feel. Canelo let us down. I mean, that's the bottom line. Big name, superstar in the sport, quality fighter. I think he let not only us but all of his fans down. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Sal and I are going to break down 5 fights that are scheduled for this weekend. And then we'll hear from Dax and get his thoughts as well. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673. Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. You know, in between breaks, you know, I caught the that hologram commercial. That seems pretty cool, man. You know, to see these past great performers that are no longer with us being able to go to a concert of theirs via a hologram. I wonder if they know about it. But anyway, we got some fights we're going to talk about. And I picked 5. Paul Butler against Emmanuel Rodriguez for a vacant IBF World Bantamweight title. Or is it? I'll talk about that in a second. Then Ryan Garcia against Jason Velez. Tony Bellew, David Haye rematch. And the Triple G Vanis Martirosyan fight. So let's kick it off with the first fight that I want to talk about. Paul Butler against Emmanuel Rodriguez. What's on the line is the vacant IBF World Bantamweight title, but I think it's only going to be on the line for Emmanuel Rodriguez. Paul Butler missed weight, Sal. He was 2 pounds over. Way. He was 2 pounds over. This fight is being fought in the UK. He was the home side and still can't make weight. That's a shame considering that he did challenge for a world title, but in the junior bantamweight division, and that was 3 years ago. So you would think that he would have been able to make this. But let's start off with Emmanuel Rodriguez. Emmanuel Rodriguez is 25 years old, 4 years younger than Paul Butler. He is 5'6" in height. He has a 66.5-inch reach. He's undefeated as a pro, 17 wins, 12 coming by knockout. Has not reached 100 rounds yet as a pro, but he is a KO puncher. He's got a 71% knockout ratio. The computer sees him at number 13 in the world. When you take a look at this guy's resume, his last 8 opponents, I think, were all good opposition. He fought Miguel Cartagena at 13-1. He fought Gabor Molinar 16-6. He fought Luis Hinosa at 27-8. Knocked him out, by the way, in 3 rounds. Alexis Rangel 16-4 with a couple of draws. The 2 biggest fights of his career: Alicia Aquino in Florida, 17-1-1 going into that fight. He got knocked out in the 7th round, and his fight after that, about 6 months later, Alberto Guevara, who was 24-2. He also went to distance with Rodriguez. At least he went to distance there. Fought 2 decent opponents in his last 2 fights. He steps in, and Rodriguez is. He's got. I think he's got his boxing ability is good, and he's got punching power. The only thing I think he needs a little work with, in my opinion, is his defense. But he steps in the ring with Paul Butler. Paul Butler is 4 years older. He's ranked number 6 in the world at bantamweight. Now I don't know. Before we went on air, I know that he missed the weight by 2 pounds. I don't know if he's still getting a chance to lose the 2 pounds or not. But as of right now, this second, he missed the bantamweight limit by 2 pounds, meaning that he's not eligible for the title should he go on to fight. The computer sees him at number 6 at bantamweight. He's only been beaten once. He's 26-1 with 14 knockouts. He's way over the 100-round limit as a pro, or accumulation as a pro. He's got 100 rounds more than Rodriguez. He's got 178 rounds. His only loss, which was a knockout loss, came against Zolani Teat when he challenged him for his world superfly or junior bantamweight title. In his last 9 fights since his world title shot, he's gone unbeaten. He's 9-0, 6 of them coming by knockout. And when I look at those 9 opponents, 7 of them are all decent quality opponents. He's got wins against Stuart Hall. He's got wins against Alexis Ruiz and Sebastian Sanchez, all good fighters. Paul Butler is a well-rounded fighter. Who's going to win this fight? Well, in my opinion, Emmanuel Rodriguez. Not only is going to win, but I think he stops Paul Butler. I think if you haven't seen Emmanuel Rodriguez fight before, you're going to like this kid. He's a good fighter, and I think he's going to England and will be coming back to Puerto Rico with the world title. So that's who I'm picking, Emmanuel Rodriguez over Paul Butler. Sal, what's your thoughts on that fight?
Billy C., I will tell you this. I think you are the world champion when it comes to breaking down a fighter and giving us the black and white of what we need to know. And I will tell you this, based on what you said and what I do know about these fighters, again, I'm going to go back. When a fighter fails to do something that he's on contract to do, which is part of his makeup, part of his job description, part of his... Yes, this is a job, by the way. You undertook the role of a professional fighter. You're being paid as a professional. You're making a living. So when you see a fighter that doesn't have the discipline and he comes in 2 pounds overweight, what that tells me, Bill, is there's other areas he may be taking shortcuts in. There may be other areas that he thinks he's taken for granted. So there, I'm not saying each case or every case, but I think in certain cases, that's what that tells me. So based on a lot of what you're saying and based on what I do know, the little bit that I do know about these fighters, I also will go with Rodriguez for a lot of reasons. So I think Rodriguez will come out the victor.
Well, hopefully, I would like to see the title on the line. So hopefully, Paul Butler will get his chance to lose that weight. I know he's got some time, but in any event, it's not changing my opinion. Like I said, I'm going with Rodriguez as well. The next fight, I can't wait to watch this fight tonight. Ryan Garcia, Kingry Garcia. He's that phenom. We watched him a month ago fight Fernando Vargas.
Yes.
He's 5'10". He's got some pop. He's a good-looking kid. He's only 19. We saw screaming girls. I thought I was watching the Beatles at Shea Stadium. We saw all these screaming girls coming to watch him. I love it. I love it. That's exactly what boxing needs. It needs fighters that can, bring new fans in. And if they're screaming because they want to get a piece of Ryan, if you know what I mean, I don't care as long as they're at the venue watching the fights. Love the fact that Ryan Garcia seems to be such a draw. Now, he's 19 years old, 11 years younger than his opponent, Jason Velez. He's undefeated, 14-0 with 13 knockouts. The computer has him ranked at number 47 in the world. He's fairly tall, I think. At least I would think, for a super featherweight, 5'10", 70-inch reach. His last fight was a big fight in terms of stepping up in level. Although the previous fight, he did fight an experienced guy. He seems to have been moved the right way. They don't seem to be really coddling him. Marco Antonio Macias was a big test for him. Then he fought Miguel Carriosa, Cesar Allen Venezuela, No Martinez Regoza, and then, of course, Fernando Vargas. His first two fights, he weighed 132.25 pounds. One of the things we were talking about Ryan Garcia is that he's probably going to be moving up in weight. He's only 19. But check this out. In his last couple of fights, he didn't hit 130. He weighed 129.5. So the weight management here is good. This guy's got a good jab. He's fast. My knock on Ryan Garcia is he stands up a little too straight. And a fighter that can get on the inside may do damage. And maybe that will be Jason Velez. Now, Jason Velez isn't that much shorter. He's only 1.5 inches shorter. He is 11 years older. He's a former world title challenger. Did he lose? No, he got a draw. He got a draw when he challenged Envy Gradovic back in 2014 for Gradovic's featherweight title. Since then, he had a bit of bad luck. He after that challenge, a draw, he fought Daniel Ramirez, and then he lost all of his 4 losses. His record is 26 wins, 18 by knockout, 4 losses, 1 draw, which was the title shot. Never was stopped in his 4 losses, but all 4 losses came at once within a 1-year span. He fought Gradovic for the title. He came back with a let's get him a win against Daniel Ramirez. Then he lost all 10-round decisions, 2 of them close. But Ronnie Rios, Jojo Diaz, Rene Alvarado, and Alfredo Santiago, who, by the way, was only a 6-0 fighter, all beat him via 10-round decisions. The Rene Alvarado, experienced tough fighter, and the Alfredo Santiago fight, both were close. One was a split decision, one was a majority decision. Since those 4 losses, he's fought 3 tough fights. He beat Alberto Mercado, Giovanni Caro, and in his last fight, he knocked out Juanma Lopez in the 12th round. Jason Velez is a real fighter. It's going to be a huge test for Ryan Garcia. I honestly believe that this is a 50-50 fight. Ryan Garcia is, if he gets this win, he is going to be in position for a title shot, I would think. Now, just so you know, the computer ranked Ryan Garcia at number 47, Jason Velez at number 31. I'm going with the kid. I'm going with the kid here, even though I think that Jason Velez is a real tough opponent, and we're going to see how good Ryan Garcia is tonight. I'm picking Ryan Garcia. Who do you like in this one, Sal?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I first saw Ryan Garcia, his last fight out, I said, wow, this is a future superstar budding out to be fantastic. And yes, there were some things that I did also make note of, and standing up too straight, and was one of them. And I think he is going to be well schooled, and he has fought. I mean, his last fight out, he beat a dominant, a good, experienced fighter. And the same thing with Jason Velasquez. He's a tough out. He's a tough fighter. He's got a world of experience. And this is only Ryan Garcia's 14th, 15th fight. So there's going to be, I think, a good test here for him. But I think having the youth, having the sense of who he is, and having the discipline, I think he's going to have some real hard tests he's going to be faced with in this fight tomorrow. But I do think that he's going to be able to come out and overcome these obstacles, and he's going to gain more experience, and he's going to shine further on. So I do see Ryan Garcia in a very tough fight where he's going to be tested, and he's going to be having his body on the line here, because this is a good, experienced fighter. I think he's going to be ultimately coming out ahead, and he's going to learn a world of boxing experience from this fight. So I do see Ryan Garcia winning.
Next fight I'm going to pick is David Haye against Tony Bellew. Listen, David Haye, in my opinion, is the most overrated, biggest fraud in the sport of boxing. People are going to tell me, oh, well, he was such a successful cruiserweight. Yeah, he got some big wins as a cruiserweight. There's no doubt about it. But when the biggest fight in the cruiserweight division was in front of him, he bailed, and that was against Krzysztof Lazarek, and he moved up to heavyweight. When he moved up to heavyweight, he had a carefully chosen path. He did win the world heavyweight title when he beat, in my opinion, he did not win, but he did rock Nikolai Valuev and took the title via a majority decision back in 2009. Had a successful defense against John Ruiz, who was shot. He had a fixed fight win against Audley Harrison. Then, after chasing him around for years, he steps in the ring with Vladimir Klitschko and dogs out, man. This guy was such a punk with all the stuff that he was doing and saying. He dogs out and runs from Klitschko for 12 rounds, then had the nerve to put his foot up on the podium, say he hurt his little toe. That's why he couldn't fight. His toe hurt. So I lost all kinds of respect for this guy.
I don't think
Can't stand him. Can't stand him. He is a fraud with a capital F. I don't understand why the Brits like him so much. In his last fight with Tony Bellew knocked him out. But what does he do? He makes an excuse. He hurt himself. Yes, he did hurt himself, but it is what it is. He's a former heavyweight and cruiserweight champ, 38 years old, 6'3", same height as Bellew. He does have a 4-inch reach advantage, 78 inches versus 74. His career record, 28 wins, 26 by knockout, 3 losses in which he was knocked out twice. And he has 133 rounds as a professional. He weighed 224.5 pounds for the last Bellew fight. Let's see what he weighs for this one. I think they already weighed. I don't have the weights in front of me. He steps in the ring with Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew is a cruiserweight. Basically, he moved up to heavyweight just to fight David Haye and won. He's currently, I think, the cruiserweight champion in recess, a former world champ. Fighting the rematch. When he fought David Haye the first time, he weighed 213 pounds. Same height, 6'3", 4-inch shorter in reach at 74, and 2 years younger at 36. His career record, 29 wins, 19 by knockout, 2 losses in which he was stopped once and has a draw. Does have 100 rounds, almost 100 rounds more than David Haye under his belt. How do I see this fight going? I can't stand David Haye. So whether David Haye wins or not, I'm rooting and picking officially Tony Bellew. What's your thoughts, Sal?
Well, I like Tony Bellew, and I think that history will repeat itself, and I think Tony wants to have a big night. And David Haye, I don't know where he is in his career at this point. He's been around for a while, and he's gotten some good opportunities, but I do think that Tony Bellew is going to go out there and be a little more serious, and he's going to put the exclamation mark on his victory over David Haye. So I picked Tony Bellew. Hey,
it's David Haye, and David Haye, by the way. I think we are going to see the best David Haye. Contrary to all of his excuses all the time, when he doesn't perform well, he'll tell you, he'll make an excuse big time. But there's a big fight for him down the road if he does win this fight. So let me just say that there's more on the line for David Haye than there is Tony Bellew. David Haye wins this fight. He's got some domestic fights on the horizon, possibly. Obviously, Anthony Joshua, maybe even Tyson Fury. So chances are David Haye, if he doesn't get knocked out, will get the nod. All right, the big fight of the weekend, Triple G against Vanes Martirosyan. We all know the backdrop story. This fight was supposed to be Triple G against Canelo. Canelo cheated, tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. Triple G refused to pick another date. Time went on. The clock ticked, and at the last minute, not only did they get Vanes Martirosyan, but the IBF and all of the other titles as well that Triple G has, the IBF, the IBO, the WBA, and the WBC, all on the line, all approved Martirosyan as an opponent, which shocks me. He is 36 wins, 21 by knockout. He's got 3 losses in which he was never stopped, and those 3 losses too were against world title shots, and the third loss was against Jermell Charlo, a much bigger guy, back in 2015. His last fight was against Erslandy Lara for Lara's title. He went the distance, 12 rounds with Lara, and that was May of 2016. So it's almost going to be 2 years that he steps in the ring. He's a former world title challenger. He challenged for the junior middleweight title twice. Like I said, his last fight was Erslandy Lara. He also lost to Jermell Charlo. He's got wins over Ishii Smith, the most boring fighter on the planet, right above Floyd Mayweather. He's got a big win against Willie Nelson, and he also fought and lost to Demetrius Andrade for a title shot. His draw was his first fight against Erslandy Lara. He's a come-at-you fighter. He's going to be right in front of Triple G, exactly what Triple G wants. And when we take a look at Triple G, it's not much I'm going to tell you that we haven't already said about Triple G. World middleweight champion, should be ranked number 1 in the world at middleweight, but for some crazy reason, the computer has him at number 2. The number 1 middleweight, Canelo, which makes me laugh my ass off. It's a joke.
I can't believe it.
Now, he's 8 years. This guy, Triple G, has held the title for 8 years. He won his first title in WBA, interim title against Milton Nunez back in 2010, August 14th. His last fight against Saul Canelo Alvarez, most of us thought he won. He's also got wins over Daniel Jacobs, Kell Brook. The list goes on and on. I mean, you can take a look at David Lemieux, Willie Monroe, Martin Murray, Marco Antonio Rubio, Daniel Geale, Curtis Stevens when he was hot, Nashiro Ishada, him, Matthew Macklin, Gabe Rosado, Proska. I mean, he's fought everybody available to him in the middleweight division. Listen, Triple G is going to be pissed off in this fight. I feel for Vanes Martirosyan. I give him the benefit of the doubt that he's man enough to step in and get a payday. But the 37-0 with 33 knockouts, 87% knockout ratio for Triple G. His one draw against Canelo in his last fight. I'm looking for Triple G to win this fight, win it by knockout, make a statement, and I hope that he never fights Canelo. That's what I hope. What's your thoughts, Sal?
Well, I'll tell you, what can I say about Triple G that we don't know? He is definitely a very special human being, very special fighter. He takes his craft very seriously. He trains, he's all business, and he does the best he can to represent in the sport of boxing what a professional fighter is supposed to be like, in his opinion, and his makeup, inside and outside the ring. The guy's a straight shooter. The guy brings it all, 100% to the game, 100% of the time. He's all business once he's in the ring. And I see this as a good chance to just showcase his abilities and talents. And, you know, I've often said, and I know others feel this way, a lot of times fighters are never the same after they go in the ring with Triple G. Not all the time, but a lot of times we'll see where fighters went after their career when they went into the ring with Triple G. He's that devastating of a hard opponent to overcome. And whether he takes your heart or hurts you permanently or hurts you temporarily, I think he's got a lot of the tools still available to him to showcase. And for that reason alone, I think that Triple G, yeah, he's going to fight with an attitude. He knows he was supposed to be in the ring with Canelo. I think he kept his date for a multitude of reasons that was special to him. One, to keep him active, to keep him focused, to keep him back into the ring on a scheduled fight when he was supposed to be. And I think that's part of his makeup and his discipline and his heart, saying, hey, I'm still here. I'm going to be the reigning champ for as long as I can, and I take this game serious, so I'm not going to disappoint my fans or look in the mirror and disappoint myself. So there's more I could say, but we all know Triple G. He's unique, he's different, and I think for that reason alone and his ability, he's going to have a big night tomorrow night, and I think he's going to win in big fashion. It'll be good. His opponent will give the best he can, but in the end, Triple G is going to win big by a knockout.
I think he kind of needs to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's got to make a statement. He's had some rough outs.
He's got, you know, he's in there with a guy that's been out of the ring for 2 years. He's in there with a guy that's, you know, traditionally smaller than him. He's in there with a guy who is tough, has never been stopped, but also we have to assume that he hasn't really had a big training camp. You know, I don't know if he was in the gym before or not, if he was preparing for something else or not. I don't know. But, you know, I'm assuming that, you know, since he's going to be able to make weight, that he's in decent shape. But being on weight and being in fighting shape are two different things. So we'll have to wait and see. But I kind of think Triple G needs a knockout in this fight. Not to, you know, convince the judges or anything like that, but he needs a knockout to show that he's the same Triple G. Even though he's facing a last-minute opponent, so to speak, I think he needs a knockout in this fight. And I think he's got to show that that the 36 years of life that he's been on this planet is not slowing him down. Hopefully he's got accustomed to having that time off. You know, this was a guy that was used to fighting 3 times a year, and ever since he teamed up with trying to fight Canelo for some money, it's shattered his norm. Triple G's norm has been shattered at the hands of Canelo because of Canelo's diva tactics. And if I'm Triple G, I'm pissed about that too. So we'll have to wait and see. Listen, I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have Dax Khan join us. We'll get his thoughts on the same 5 fights that Sal and I just broke down. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you. I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Hey, don't forget, I want you to join me next weekend up at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. HBO World Title fights, and I'm Ali making his first defense of his world title. Be there. I'm going to be ringside. I want you to be there too. Get the best pricing on tickets right now by visiting our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the fight poster. It's right there on the right-hand side. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see it. Get some tickets, then drop me an email. Let me know where you're going to be so I can come over and let you, buy me a couple of scotches or whatever. Then the fun starts. But anyway, we'll see you Saturday. Next Saturday it is, up at the Turning Stone. Joining us right now, not from the Turning Stone, but he's in the state anyway, is my man Dax Khan. And him and Sal are like two kids that are going to be sent to the back of the classroom if they don't stop. But anyway, what's up, Dax?
What's up? You're sitting there saying, be there, be square. I'm trying to think how the girls used to do that years ago. They'd be like, L7 square.
Yeah, but be there or be square, I didn't actually say, but I have said that in the past. And that, I think, that was a 50s line. It was resurrected on Happy Days, which was, the 50s resurrected when I was a kid in the late 70s, early 80s. But anyway, first fight. Paul Butler against Emmanuel Rodriguez for the vacant IBF World Bantamweight title. It looks like it's only going to be on the line for Rodriguez. Paul Butler missed it by over 2 pounds. He does have some time to lose it, but that's neither here nor there. How do you see the fight going?
I have to come right out and say it. I really don't understand how this is a world title fight. I don't think either guys really should be in a position to be fighting for a world title, but considering Butler's last 5 opponents are combined 71 and 31, the best name on that list there is Dario Ruiz, who's ranked 124th in the world. Rodriguez's last opponent, 85 and 15. The IBF has stripped somebody quick, though. But, you summed that up before. Nothing more than I could say than what you said about Rodriguez. I think he's a, the more solid prospect, the harder hitter. I think that since the Zolani Teat lost, Butler's been carefully maneuvered. So I think Rodriguez is going to knock out Butler and come home with, bring that title back home, just as you stated. I really have nothing more to elaborate on. You summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, no, I agree. Emmanuel Rodriguez is a real fighter. Butler, not making a weight, that's a flag right off the bat. And I was noticing some people in the chat room suggesting that they did that purposely, but when there's a title on the line, you don't get the title, so it makes no sense. But anyway, let's move to the next one. In a big fight that, I tell you the truth, it's the fight I'm looking forward to the most this weekend, and it's tonight. Ryan Garcia against Jason Velez. Big step up in quality opposition for Ryan Garcia. How do you see this fight going?
Yeah, I agree. In my opinion, this is should be the toughest opponent in the career of Garcia to date. You know, Garcia's a tall. You know, he's 5'10". He's only 19 years old. He has power. 13 of his 14 wins come by stoppage. He has skill. He's a very well-rounded fighter. His wins over Fernando Vargas, Noah Regoza, Mario Masias. You know, none of those guys are overly special, but, you know, for somebody who only has 14 fights to go in there against journeyman with that much experience, we don't see that very often. So, you know, that's how you really you build a fighter quickly. And, you know, this way, you know, by the time he's at the 20th fight, he's seen every style there possibly could be. You know, Velez, you know, he had a great start to his career, very similar to Garcia. You know, he had wins over names like Salvador Sanchez, Dan Gwynn, Johan Alberto Molina. He had that draw against Yevgeny Gradovich, you know, again, all experienced journeymen. And, you know, they help a fighter, you know, build into that complete skill set by the time they're at their 20th fight. Then he had those 4 losses in a row. I think to Ronnie Rios, Joseph Diaz, Rene Alvarado, Alfredo Santiago. You know, he didn't get dominated. He didn't get knocked out, didn't get knocked down, but, you know, he did lose 4 in a row, so you know, kind of question what was going on in his career, maybe bad camp. Then he comes back, he wins 3 in a row, and then he stops former world champion Juan Manuel Lopez. You know, so, you know, this is definitely a very well matched fight. You know, I think that Ryan Garcia will know the truth about him tonight, whether or not, you know, this kid really has the goods, you know, whether or not he can take a punch. It's more or less, you know, a boy versus a man. Ryan Garcia pretty much still has that boy strength. He hasn't stepped into that man strength yet. Jason Velez obviously has the more experience. You know, what troubles me, though, about Ryan Garcia is the fact that, you know, he's had 6 suspensions in 2 years, and he's only had 14 fights. You know, he was in his last fight. You know, he was suspended in Canada indefinitely because, like you mentioned, not making weight. He didn't make his weight against he didn't make his weight against Regoza. You know, he came in a half a pound over. You know, he ended up making it eventually, but, you know, not making that weight, you know, so early on, you know, that's a bad sign. He was also suspended this year after the Fernando Vargas fight. He was suspended for 6 days for failing to comply with California State Athletic Commission rules. I believe he didn't go in there with a post-fight testing. So, you know, I don't know really, you know, where's the head of this kid right now? You know, what's going on with this kid? You know, what's going on with the team? You know, at 19 years old, things just seem pretty unorganized to be suspended 6 times in 2 years, even though they were brief. So, you know, this fight, in my opinion, is kind of a 50-50, You know, we'll find out tonight whether or not Ryan Garcia is the truth, but I'm going to have to say I'm going to go with Jason Velez in this one.
You know, could it be linked to Golden Boy Promotions fighters? You know, these are the guys, you know, and I'm going to get off topic here for a second, Dax, but, you know, I thought that Golden Boy was the best promotional team several years ago. I was, like, really happy with the direction I thought that Golden Boy was going in. And, man, have they dropped off. Obviously, since Richard Schaefer left, it's not the same promotional outfit. But they have just sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss. You know, if they have a young 19-year-old fighter like Ryan Garcia, and he's failing tests and being suspended at 19 so early in his career, you have to wonder if this outfit is actually trying to stretch the rules a little bit. I don't know. I shouldn't say that, but let's move on.
These suspensions, real quick, Bill, aren't anything that Ryan Garcia himself is doing wrong. It's the people around him that should be making sure that these certain things get done or not doing.
Well, that's my point. You know, the whole team is responsible. Listen, you can't say we, and then say he when something bad happens, you know? So, anyway.
Remember this much. You mentioned Richard Schaefer. After that split up, there was that interview with Oscar De La Hoya and about Richard Schaefer and how many of the fighters Richard Schaefer took and what Richard Schaefer actually brought to Golden Boy Promotions. And I remember the one thing that stood out in that conversation was, but at least you still have Canelo. And Oscar De La Hoya, says, yes, at least I still have Canelo, and that's a good thing. More or less what that was telling me was without Canelo, pretty much that company may have folded, because I don't think Oscar De La Hoya, despite his great career as a fighter, really knows how to, be that promoter that we expect and we want him to. Just like, Floyd Mayweather, without the people around Floyd Mayweather, like Leonard Ellerbe or, and Al Heyman and so on, Floyd Mayweather would not have been that, that huge draw and made all that money. So you have to wonder what's going on there.
Yeah, but the thing with De La Hoya, Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotions, the reason why I had so much faith in them as a promotional company is because they did the right things when they started out. They had Oscar, obviously. They had some older fighters signed, and they took the time to build the roster of young talent so that when the old guys walked away because they couldn't fight anymore, they had been able to infuse these young talent. It seems they've drifted away, with the exception of Ryan Garcia. It seems like they've drifted away from getting quality young opposition. Young fighters. They have some young fighters, but they just don't seem to be, busting up the sport. And the same, you mentioned Mayweather Promotions. I've said all along, never liked Floyd as a fighter, but I think that Floyd would make a great promoter. He's clearly a good promoter, but he doesn't have the ability, or maybe he has the ability, but he doesn't have the desire to surround himself with a lot of good young talent. As soon as some of his young fighters seem to take off, next thing you know, they're getting arrested, they're doing something. He just... And I wish he would change his tune. I wish that Floyd would become more of a promoter, because we need, especially in the United States, we need a good promotional outfit. Eddie Hearn is taking over the sport. But anyway, moving on. Speaking of Eddie Hearn, we'll move over to England. Tony Bellew and David Haye rematch. Dax, no one can stand David Haye more than me. Is this a fight? I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
I'll say from the start, right off the bat, Tony Bellew's going to win this again. Even though Tony Bellew's been fairly inactive the last few years, he only fights about once a year. He does fight against, top quality names. David Haye is a part-time fighter at best who does more talking, and he's injured more than he steps into the ring, or probably even into the gym. This is nothing more than a grudge match, in my opinion. David Haye has not been the same fighter since the Klitschko fight, even though he didn't get knocked out into that fight. I think Vladimir Klitschko really sapped his confidence. He went in there thinking that, because he was able to go the distance, take that title away from Nikolai Bellew-Haye, who was a lot bigger than Vladimir Klitschko, and even stun Bellew-Haye, he was going to be able to go in there and do that against Klitschko. And David Haye, when he's at his best, he's a skill fighter, and he certainly has a lot of pop to him. But, it didn't work out that way. He was more or less manhandled in that fight, and, I think that really did a lot to the psyche of David Haye. And Tony Bellew was a confident guy. He's a skilled guy. He's small for today's era heavyweights, as is David Haye, but, he's really not a small guy. He was draining himself to get to light heavyweight, very comfortable at cruiserweight, and today's cruiserweights are like yesterday's heavyweights. So I think pretty much what's going to happen is the same thing as last fight, unless David Haye, like I stated for that fight, gets Tony Bellew early. What's going to happen is Bellew's going to take him in late, and he's going to stop him.
You think Bellew's going to stop him again?
Yeah, unless David Haye gets him early. Like I said, like the last time they fought, that was my prediction as well. David Haye has to get him earlier. Bellew's going to drown them late, and that's what's going to happen again, in my opinion.
I hope so. And Bellew was never that great anyway at cruiserweight. I think it just listen, I'll go on record. I've said it many times. David Haye to me is the biggest fraud ever in boxing. So I just don't, with all of the quality fighters that are over in the UK and how they've kind of been carrying boxing on their back, to have the fans still support David Haye, I don't know. What does he do? Throw out $100 bills during his fights? I don't know. The big fight, I guess, in theory, this weekend was the salvaged May 5th date for Triple G. He's taking on Martirosyan. Martirosyan, a fighter that has not been in the ring for quite some time. And he is stepping in the ring, stepped up, and will be fighting Triple G. Now that you're back in your saddle there, Dax, what's your
My
thoughts?
alarm is going off.
What's your thoughts on Triple G Vanes Martirosyan?
And my alarm is going off playing whatever song it was back there. It drives me nuts. I mean, Vanes isn't a big puncher, and he's not overly mobile, but he's awkward. He can box. Vanes is a former Olympian. He has an excellent chin. He's taking the best punches that Jermell Charlo could offer him. Willie Nelson, Demetrius Andrade. He has not big power, but respectable power. You know, he dropped Ishe Smith, who's very durable with a great chin. He dropped Andrade early on in their fight. You know, he has 21 of his 36 wins by KO. Vanes is a career junior middleweight, but he has come in at middleweight several times in his career. In 2011, he fought twice above the junior middleweight limit, and that was against Richard Gutierrez and Vladimir Cazares. He's coming off a 2-year layoff, but, you know, he's a little bit bigger than Triple G. I think he has about an inch and a half in height and an inch and a half in reach. So I'm going to predict the Triple G win here, but I don't think that it's this gross mismatch that, the fans are, trying to state. The Charlo brothers, both bigger than Triple G, maybe hit as hard, maybe even a little bit harder than Triple G, but Jermell cannot, put Vanes down. Vanes has been in there with Lara twice. He's been in there with Andrade. He's been in there with Ishe Smith. He's been in there with Kasim Luma. He's been in there with Willie Nelson. All guys that are very talented, all guys that, have a lot of skill. And, so Triple G, I'm going to say, he gets a stoppage. It's not going to happen early. Vanes Martirosyan knows how to survive. He knows how to box. He knows how to cut that, he knows how to move around that ring and make that to the best of his ability. And for all we know, looking at the last few of Triple G's fights, what if, and I'm just saying, what if, you stated earlier, he aged overnight and Vanes Martirosyan won this?
If Martirosyan wins this fight, I would think that would be the end of the career of Triple G, wouldn't you?
What would that do to how would that just rock the sport? One thing, that's just a little side note. But one thing I was just wondering, Vanes Martirosyan has been off for 2 years, and considering how big he is, he's not huge, not over 6 feet like like the Charlos, or he's not as big as Jarrett Hurd, but he's a big guy, and he has fought over 106 over the 154 and over 160 pounds in the past. I'm just wondering, do you think that maybe at some point in time that Vanes Martirosyan, maybe the 154-pound limit was a bit of a hassle for him? You think maybe he was draining himself a little bit for 154 pounds? And we could see a different version of Martirosyan in here on Saturday?
I don't know. I mean, every fighter that age can handle the weight, but this is a guy that's been out of the ring for 2 years, Dax. If it is, what an opportunity comes knocking on Martirosyan's door, but... FYI, I just got a word in one of the chat rooms. David Haye weighed 220. That's 9.5 pounds lighter than he weighed in the first Bellew fight. I don't know if that's going to help him at all. But, I
don't know.
Getting back to your Vanes Martirosyan comments. Hey, listen, the question is he going to make it a fight? Is this going to be a fight? And like Sal and I were just talking about, I kind of think Triple G needs to win this fight big. I think that if he doesn't knock out Martirosyan, who's never been stopped, people are going to criticize him, regardless of if he gets the win. I think he's expecting to knock out a late sub, regardless of who it is. What do you think about that?
Just like Daniel, somebody said last Saturday when the fights were on, right after the Danny Jacobs fight, that, his phone is going to be ringing off the hook like Triple G's after this performance. We spoke about that Monday, how he didn't look great, but, he put on a pretty dominant performance other than, those couple 7th and 8th rounds where he seemed to take a break or kind of tired out a little bit. Triple G has always had a hard time getting fights. A lot of people have stressed a little bit too much at that early success of Kell Brook. They really put a little bit too much on there about the Danny Jacobs situation. There was a lot to put too much on there about the Canelo fight. Do you think that maybe, Triple G, a guy who has tried to make fights a little bit more exciting than they should be, where he's willingly took punches, a bad idea, but, they'll say, I try and put on the show for my fans. Do you think that maybe you know, possibly, you know, this guy is trying to look a little bit vulnerable so he can really land one last mega payday before he retires. I mean, he's 37 years old, or he's going to be 37 years old, whichever one. I'm not exactly sure when his birthday is. He's had those almost 400 amateur fights. He's had almost 40 professional fights. You know, he's tired. You know, obviously the body can only take so much more, and he's never had that mega payday.
Who are you talking about? Triple G?
Triple G. You know, do you think maybe they're baiting somebody in there for one big fight?
Well, I don't know. I think that, you know, he had that long amateur career. He just turned 36. You know, he was looking for the fight with Canelo. He's legitimately pissed off. You know, the only fight that you know, if I'm Triple G's team, the only fight that I care about really is Billy Joe Saunders at this point. You can make a big payday, and you have the opportunity to pick up the final belt that he doesn't have and then walk away. The Canelo fight has lost its luster, and that's really the biggest money fight. But the truth of the matter is that Triple G has nothing to prove against Canelo. And I think by not fighting Canelo, he is the guy who ends up making the statement that the sport of boxing and the Nevada State Athletic Commission should have made. I think that Triple G should walk away from Canelo, and I believe him when he says that 10% is being kind, that the fight would happen. I would focus on Billy Joe Saunders and make that fight happen, or walk away. I mean, at this point, he doesn't have anything to prove. Canelo, I've lost all respect for Canelo, as you know, Dax, and you know, it's a shame that we still even talk about this guy.
Well, and I haven't lost all respect for Canelo, but just as we were mentioning earlier about promoters and that, you know, he's in another situation where I blame the promoter more than I blame the fighter, you know, because consider how young Canelo is. You know, he's not, you know, a kid anymore, but, you know, he still pretty much has, for his whole career, just followed the blueprint that his promoter has laid out for him. So, you know, you kind of have to, you know, just, you know, go along with that. You know, who do you blame, the fighter or the promoter? You know, but, you know, I think that, you know, he does have the desire to fight anybody. I think he would fight anybody, but whether or not, you know, the promoter allows. You know, a lot of people don't understand, you know, we'll take the Anthony Joshua or the Deontay Wilder situation where everybody's going, well, Wilder offered this contract and Joshua offered that contract. You know, it's Wilder's fault, it's Joshua's fault. Fact of the matter is, even if Wilder said, I'll take $1 and Joshua said, I'll take 50 cents, unless Eddie Hearn approves that, and unless Wilder's team approves that, you know what, that fight's not happening, because, you know, these promoters have to be willing to allow these fights to take place, and that's something that a lot of fans don't really understand.
Well, what I can't stand about that is the fact that there are actually fans, ignorant fans, because you got to be ignorant if you believe that a business, which boxing is, can exist when a fighter, it's like me saying to you, Dax, hey, Dax, your next get an article up on the website before the show ends and I'll give you $50 million, but you have to say yes first. And even if you said yes on air, how am I tied to give you $50 million? You got to have a contract. So to suggest that, well, we won't give it, we'll give you the contract as soon as AJ says yes. What kind of, I don't understand it. I don't understand the basis of a ridiculous statement like that. But what's even more ridiculous is the fans that support it. The fans that say, oh, how stupid is AJ? Who cares where the money comes from? Exactly. Who cares where the money comes from? As long as it's coming from someplace. You know, you don't agree to something. And then even if you do agree, it's worthless. It's a joke how that whole thing has turned around. Listen, neither one of them want to fight each other this year. It's not going to happen. It's a mistake that they don't fight each other, but it's not going to happen. They're both. I
was just using that as an example.
I know.
You know, the fighters themselves can't just say, okay, we're gonna, you know, the fight is going to happen. You know, these promoters have to agree.
Well,
these are the guys that do all that.
Well, the truth of the matter is that the fighters could say, hey, they could go into their promoter and managers office and say, hey, I don't care. Make the fight. I don't care what I get paid. Make the fight. They could do that. But they hide behind, oh, well, hey, I'm just a fighter.
Well, hey, Bill, let's be honest. You know, yes, they can do that. But point of the matter is, until you get to that certain level, like we use a Floyd Mayweather or Bernard Hopkins or an Oscar De La Hoya, until you get to that certain level, you know what, and you're pretty much managing your own career, you're at the mercy of what that promoter wants. No matter how willing you are, how much you want that fight. And it's not just, we've seen that happen for decades upon decades. And you mentioned something about, well, I make that promise, and we've seen how many times has there been lawsuits where, he made a verbal promise, but there was nothing on paper. And that's unfortunate, the business side of the sport. One last thing before we go, 50-0 now. We have another guy, 50-0, WBC minimum weight champion, Juan Hang Menayothin, dominated Leroy Estrada yesterday in his 10th successful world title defense and improved to 50-0. Is somebody going to come back now and try and make 51-0?
You know what I hate the most about that story? They said that he joined the Mayweather 50-0 club. It's such a joke of a statistic because many fighters have reached the 50-0 plateau, kept going, and finally lost. The only significant fighter that could get to 50-0 is a heavyweight, and that heavyweight's Deontay Wilder. And yeah, he should be getting the same recognition as Mayweather got. And you want to know something? He fought the same level of opponents as Mayweather fought. So it is.
And he did it in a sooner amount of time too.
8 years, right? 8 years sooner, right?
Yes, but you speak about how everybody used that. He joined the Floyd Mayweather club. That's another thing that, was kind of irritating about, today's era. You know what? There was no reason to even compare him to Floyd Mayweather or bring that in there. You know what that is? That's what they call on the internet clickbait. That was just, to get people to click down and read this article, and they use Floyd Mayweather's name on there. Okay, put Floyd Mayweather on there, they're going to read that article to try and see who this guy is. That most of these fans, today, who only have this small spectrum of knowledge, whether or not it's just their country, or whether or not it's United States and the UK, but not many fans have this overall broad spectrum of knowledge, worldwide like they used to. So that's why they'll use somebody like Floyd Mayweather's name or another fighter's name to sit there and get that clickbait instead of doing the right thing and just, as you stated, putting a story out on the guy who did his job. Forget about anybody else. This guy did his job. Do the story on him.
Well, the big difference is everybody knows Floyd Mayweather. Nobody knows this guy. So.
Well, that's how you build up the sport into a worldwide, the one universal sport that we've had. You do a story on this guy and introduce the world to this guy.
I think the best part of the story is the insignificance of 50-0 in any weight class but the heavyweight division. And this guy hits that home, in my opinion. But, Dax, enjoy the fights, and we'll look forward to you next week, brother.
All right, everybody, have a good day.
That's Dax Khan giving us his thoughts on the fights this weekend. For all the affiliates out there, radio and TV, we are not, I repeat, we are not going to break right here. So we're going to continue on with the end of the show. So, but in any event, I just want to talk real quick about that, because I can't possibly go through a show without talking about Anthony Joshua and, what's his name? What's that guy's name? Deontay Wilder. Can't go without talking about them. That offer of $50 million, it boggles my mind because I just, first of all, if it was a legit offer and Anthony Joshua doesn't take it, he's an idiot. All right, so I have to say that, because if Anthony Joshua and his team decide that $50 million isn't fair for him, then he's an idiot. Okay, but with that said, Deontay Wilder and his team are even more of idiots by actually suggesting that Anthony Joshua must say yes to the fighter versus fighter offer of $50 million, which incidentally was an email sent and a Twitter and a YouTube video sent by Deontay Wilder, that they would get all of the stipulations of that contract after he agreed. So let's just say, for argument's sake, they put in some crazy stipulations in a contract that AJ's team would never accept, and they turn around and say, no way, we're not taking that contract. Is all that Deontay Wilder wants to say is, well, he said yes. He said yes. There's no legal ramifications. don't any of you people that support the fact that Deontay sent out a verbal offer, that AJ's not accepting it in that form because it's not on paper, don't you see that that is a shady, scammy, kind of a smokescreen offer to begin with? I mean, I don't get it. What do you think, Sal?
I think it's what I've been saying all along. We're going to hear the rhetoric. We're going to hear all the false truths, and we're going to hear what we really don't need to hear. But it's going to keep everybody talking about it, thinking about it, dreaming about it, and hopefully they're going to come out of the closet soon and say, hey, we've got this fight signed, sealed, and delivered. And, maybe I'm hoping for too much because, my original statement was when two fighters really want to fight each other, it's going to happen. And if both camps, both fighters really feel that they're the next fight for each other and they're going to make it happen for a multitude of reasons, well, they better start making that more aware and to each other and communicating. And like I said, this is all happening right now behind the closed doors, hopefully.
Your sound and video is really, really choppy. I don't know what you guys are experiencing.
Is it really?
Yeah. But let me ask you one quick question. Yesterday we were talking about the WBC and because this is WBC puts out their whole history of the middleweights because of a middleweight fight. And I was, looking at all these fights that they claim are their most memorable WBC championship fights. I agree that Dick Tiger's win over Gene Foreman was memorable. The Joey Gardiello and Ruben Hurricane Carter was, even though it went the distance. Carlos Monzon against Nino Benvenuti and Hagler Duran, Hagler Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard Hagler, and even Triple G Canelo. Those are the memorable ones for me. But the thing that I don't understand is their top 10 ranked middleweights of all time, Sal. And Sugar Ray Leonard, number one. I ask you this, just to remind you, I know we talked about it yesterday, but Ray Leonard's 1, Bernard Hopkins is 2. I don't have a problem with B-Hop there. Joey Gardiello, number 3. Great fighter. But number 3 greatest middleweight of all time, above Carlos Monzon, who's at number 4, above Marvin Hagler, who's at number 5, above Nino Benvenuti, who's at number 6, above Triple G, who's at number 7, and then Emil Griffith is 8, Martinez number 9, and Rodrigo Valdez, Colombian fighter. They look at his loss record, but he fought all of those guys coming up and going down, so to speak. I don't know. But do you think that Joey Gardiello should be ranked so high? I mean, am I missing something on him?
Well, I pronounced it Joey Giardello, but
you're probably right.
It's still the same fighter, and I think he was a great fighter. I met the man, and he was a funny guy, a good guy. I don't know if I really would have put him above a Marvin Hagler. In all due respect, I don't know. I know this is all the WBC champs.
Yeah, Sal, you're breaking up big time, man.
I don't know why.
It's
don't
strange.
know why.
It's strange, but anyway, we got our trivia question. So let me get to that. I got a bunch of hints for you because this is a tough one. Okay, so if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. You'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to give you a slew of hints. The question is, I once stopped the undefeated record of a fighter. Then a week later, I beat his brother. Who am I? I once stopped the undefeated record of a fighter. Then a week later, I beat his brother. Who am I? Let me give you some hints, okay? This guy, I gave you his initials, his TC. I gave you the initials of the brothers, DF and GF. I'll give you some more information. This guy never fought for a world title, but he did fight 65 professional fights. He also, not only these two brothers that he fought, he actually fought one of the brothers twice, the other one once, but all three of those fights were in succession. So he fought the one brother, and then a week later fought the other brother. Then a couple of weeks after that, fought the original brother again. And one last hint I'm going to give you, which is a big one. This guy was brought in for being accused of being part of fixing the fights. And the fight that was in question was actually the first one that he fought against one of the brothers. So I gave you a lot of hints. There they all are. I'm not going to say them again. Replay it if you have to. But if you're the first one to get the answer correctly by emailing me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win the prize. I'll throw another hint too, Sal, while I'm at it. The guy died fairly young too. Under 50 years old. So I gave a lot of stuff.
Wow.
So a lot of search capabilities there for people, Sal. So, but in any event.
Yeah, I think you were very generous.
I want to give away another title bout. But in any event. Hey, listen. Make sure you watch the fights this weekend. Specifically, don't miss tonight's fight, Ryan Garcia against Jason Velez. I think it's going to be a really good fight, a good test for this young 19-year-old undefeated fighter. We'll see how he performs against a former world challenger, title challenger. So we'll see that. We'll see how Triple G looks, and we'll talk about all that stuff come Monday morning. So make sure you tune in. The same bat time, same bat channel on Monday morning. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.